Have you ever considered that there's a kind of intelligence no one ever teaches us? You won't find it in textbooks or classrooms. It isn't praised in speeches or celebrated in crowds. Yet somehow it's sensed and feared. It doesn't chase validation. It doesn't seek applause. It moves quietly, unnoticed, and when it strikes, it does so with terrifying precision. Do you know someone like that? Someone who never raises their voice but commands the room, or that woman who smiles politely while shifting invisible pieces with a grace few understand. These are not accidents. This is something else. This is something else. This is what we call dark intelligence. And once you truly grasp it, your vision of the world will never return to what it was. Because this mind doesn't react, it observes, doesn't beg, it positions, it doesn't fight, it finishes. Niccolò Machiavelli didn't admire intellect for its brilliance. He revered it for its danger, for its capacity to rule without being seen. If you've always felt like you were different, not more sensitive, but more aware, this message is for you. Because once you unlock this, you'll never be ordinary again. They won't tell you this, not in school, not in polite society. Because if people understood how dark intelligence actually works, they would fear you long before you ever made a move. You don't begin by learning, you begin by watching. At first you're just quiet, you speak less, but hear more. You watch people talk long enough to hear the cracks in their stories. You laugh at jokes that aren't funny, not because you're amused, but because you're studying who is desperate for approval. You're not cold yet, but you're becoming so. The world around you spins in confusion. People argue about meaningless things. They defend lies to protect fragile egos. They shout when they're scared and pretend to be strong while falling apart. You notice all of it, and slowly patterns start to emerge from the chaos. It all begins with one truth. People are predictable when they feel safe. And that's when you enter silently. You begin asking the right questions, not to get answers, but to force others to reveal what they hide. You offer silence and let their discomfort expose them. You allow their emotions to write their own confessions. While they believe you're harmless, you're gathering data quietly, completely. Dark intelligence doesn't announce itself. It operates in comfort zones where others let down their guard. And slowly, your perception evolves. You no longer see people for who they pretend to be. You see use, weakness, influence, risk. You identify the liar before he speaks, the insecure before they posture, the betrayer before they betray. You're now 5 seconds faster than everyone, 5 moves ahead. Because your mind is no longer emotional, it's tactical. This is the turning point, not when you become smarter, but when you stop being naive. You begin to realize that truth matters less than belief, that trust is a tool, that most people lie to themselves and to you, and if you can control the illusions they believe in, you can control them. This is dark intelligence. It's not IQ, it's not charm, it's not hustle, it's power through perception. Your words become weapons, measured, deliberate, never wasted. You release truths like poison, slow, silent, irreversible. You stop defending yourself, you stop justifying, you stop reacting to disrespect, because now you know how to make people regret without confrontation. You no longer play their game, you bend the board to match your design. You reveal nothing, you share no intentions. You never show when you've been wounded, because in your world, pain is just another data point. You are becoming something else, not cruel, not cold, but strategic. This is the phase Machiavelli admired most. The silent metamorphosis, when someone stops trying to fit into a broken world and begins to reshape it. And the best part, no one realizes what you've become until it's too late. They still think you're harmless, innocent, quiet. They don't know they've already stepped into your web, because you've been building it not for days, but for years. And now, you don't need power. You are power. This is how dark intelligence is born, not in sparks of genius, but in countless hours of observation, of analysis, of quiet construction, of a mind so dangerous it never needs to announce itself. Welcome to your new version, the version that doesn't chase. Because now, everything comes to you and no one will see it happen. You've crossed the threshold, you've stopped trying to be liked, you've begun listening more than speaking. And now, you're not just smart, you're becoming dangerous. But what does that mean? It means you've started developing traits that ordinary minds fire even if they don't know how to name them. Want to know the 5 defining traits of a dangerously intelligent mind? Each one quiet, each one lethal. The first is your calm. It unnerves them. You don't react the way they expect. Insults don't move you. Pressure doesn't crack you. Because you're no longer ruled by emotion. You've detached from it. Don't suppress your feelings, you study them. Your anger becomes analysis. Your sadness becomes strategy. Your fear becomes foresight. You don't let emotions drive decisions, you use them to read others while they scream and spiral. You remain silent, calculating that silence. It's not emptiness. It's the sound of a mind sharpening itself. You don't just look at people, you dissect them. You watch their hands when they speak, their eyes when they lie, the shift in voice when desire creeps in. You hear the unsaid, you sense tension when someone hides the truth. You don't need them to confess. You already know that alone makes you unsettling. People feel watched around you, and it terrifies them because deep down they know you can sense their weakness. Machiavelli once said, "The promise made was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." Do you understand that you expect betrayal? so you watch for it long before it arrives. When you walk into a room, you don't need to speak to be noticed. Your presence is intentional. Your silence speaks louder than the noise of everyone else. Why? Because you're not trying to be interesting. You're trying to be unpredictable. The dangerously intelligent understand the power of mystery. You reveal just enough to provoke curiosity, never enough to be predictable. People fear what they don't understand, and you give them just enough uncertainty to keep them on edge. You've learned that power doesn't come from being everywhere. It comes from being missed. You become rare, and rarity is power. Most people talk to fill the silence. You speak to plant ideas. Each word is a move, each phrase a signal. You use pauses, tone, questions like instruments. You don't persuade, you lead people to persuade themselves. You know when to compliment, when to stay quiet. You know silence often says more than argument, and that makes you dangerous, because once you speak, the entire conversation bends toward you, not through force, but through invisible influence. This is what makes you different. You no longer need praise. You no longer seek recognition. You don't even need to be understood, because you've built something more powerful: self-validation. And when someone has nothing to prove, they become untouchable. And now that you've arrived here, if this message speaks to something inside you, then let it be known. Comment below: I see the shadows and I do not fear. This isn't for algorithms. This is for those who are waking up. You've just stepped into your most powerful version. Now that you've embraced the traits of dark intelligence, it's time to wield this power in everyday life quietly, effectively, and without detection. This is where most stumble, confusing power with loudness, strategy with impulsiveness. But you are no longer most people. You are the unseen force guiding the game. First, control conversations without dominating them. While others speak to win arguments, you speak to steer thoughts. Let them talk. Let them expose themselves. Your goal isn't to impress, it's to extract data. Ask questions that seem innocent but cut deep. Why do you think that? How did that make you feel? What happened next? These questions lower their defenses and make them feel seen. But what you're really doing is pinpointing their influence points, then say just enough to shift their thinking, never revealing your own. You don't participate in the conversation. You own it from within. Second, use silence as a weapon. Most people fear silence and rush to fill it, explaining, apologizing, justifying. You embrace silence. When someone tries to manipulate you, say nothing. Let them drown in their own guilt. They expect resistance. You offer stillness. That stillness holds power because it's the pause before the strike. Look at them a moment longer. Let them feel the weight of being truly seen. This discomfort, that's control. No raised voice needed. Your presence alone is enough. Third, mirror their emotions and then redirect them. If they're angry, match their energy calmly. If insecure, be uncertain. If proud, show humility. Then flip the mirror, twist their feelings to lead them where you want. Anger, redirect it towards a third party. Insecurity, offer a false compliment that ties them to your agenda. Pride, use flattery to position them exactly where you need. This is manipulation without force. You don't push, you let them walk willingly into your plan, believing it was their idea all along. Fourth, reveal your intentions only after you've won. Never announce your moves or explain your motives ahead of time. Let others misinterpret and underestimate you. Then, when the outcome favors you, silently reveal the truth. They'll realize too late they were part of your strategy all along. Nothing haunts a person more than knowing they've built their own downfall. Fifth, never wield your power emotionally. This is where most fail. They act out of hurt, punish to feel better, attack to prove a point. You act with cold intention. Remove someone cleanly, no shouting, no public spectacle, no emotional residue, just a silent exile, a closed door with no warning. When crossed, don't react in the moment. Strike when it benefits you, not your ego. Dark intelligence isn't revenge, it's calculated correction. Make your responses feel like the universe fixing a mistake, not a grudge held. Finally, hide your depths. Never reveal your entire mind. People respect intelligence but fear what they can't understand. Give them 60%, just enough to seem insightful, never enough to reveal your full strategy. If they think they understand you, they feel safe, and when people feel safe, they become careless. That's when you make your move. The smartest play is letting them believe they're smarter than you. Let them fall into the trap you built with their own help. You don't need a throne to rule. You don't need status to win. Dark intelligence is silent domination, power to move people, influence outcomes, and control your environment without being seen as the source. That's what Machiavelli meant when he praised the fox over the lion. Anyone can roar, but the fox wins by knowing where to step and whom to bite when no one's watching. By now your mind isn't just sharp, it's armed, and they won't know until it's too late. The most dangerous battlefield isn't war or politics, it's relationships. Curious how this applies to your daily interactions. Most people lose here, trading logic for emotion, begging, explaining, and surrendering their power in the name of love, loyalty, or guilt. But with dark intelligence, relationships become power structures, each one a battlefield where control is won or lost. You begin to see the game clearly. Every conversation is negotiation. Every compliment, potential bribe. Every silence, a signal. Most reveal too much too soon, desperate to be liked or understood. They hand over fears, pain, history, hoping for acceptance. You remain silent not because you're cold, but because you're calculating. You let them talk first. You let them expose patterns. You let them wrap the rope tighter around themselves without knowing you're handing it to them. You reveal no past, explain no patterns, fix no misunderstandings, because the less they know, the less they can use. Yet you know everything. You see the insecurity behind sarcasm, the weakness behind confidence, the hidden motive behind kindness. When tested, you don't resist, you vanish. Because in your world, disrespect isn't confronted, it's disqualified. Do you understand what most never will? Your silence is more terrifying than anger. They expect a fight, an emotional outburst. Instead, you disappear. They begin to panic, to reflect, to realize they lost control not over you, but of you. This is the power of emotional distance. It makes you rare, untouchable. Soon, people adjust their behavior not because you demand it, but because they feel your standards without hearing them. They realize you are different. You don't try to be liked or fix them. You aren't available like others. This mystery becomes control not through fear or love, but through a tacit understanding. You aren't someone they can manipulate. People learn that affection doesn't buy access. Loyalty without strategy means nothing. Proximity is a privilege you can revoke anytime. You don't punish with words, you punish with absence. Nothing haunts a manipulator more than being ignored by the one they couldn't control. Dark intelligence doesn't make you insensitive, it makes you precise. You don't form emotional bonds by default. You choose who sees you, and even then, never your whole self. That's what sets you apart. They run toward validation. You run toward clarity. They offer love to avoid loneliness. You offer silence to reveal desperation. They demand answers. You offer stillness, and that stillness terrifies because it means you saw inside and decided they weren't worth a response. By now, you don't seek excuses, argue your worth, or repeat expectations. You simply disappear when the energy turns false. Those left behind must wonder why. That's when regret begins. You never raised your voice or explained, but your absence said everything. That's how you win power in relationships, not by controlling others, but by mastering yourself. You don't need affection, approval, or understanding because you've built something far stronger, a presence no one controls, and a mind no one dares challenge. That's how you dominate in silence. By now, something in you has changed. You no longer react like before. You don't explain, argue, or overextend. You're static but not passive, quiet but not weak. That's what dark intelligence does. It sharpens you into a weapon you never need to wield. You can enter a room without saying a word, and every eye turns not from charm or performance, but because you carry a presence that's unpredictable and untouchable. You don't need to dominate because you've already won the game. People underestimate you, and that's your favorite part. You've learned to wear masks when necessary. Speak in layers and leave no fingerprints on your influence. You're unreadable, unshakable, unstoppable. This is your final form. Not a loud genius, not a public mentor, but a ghost in the system moving pieces while others beg to understand the rules. You don't seek revenge. You erase people. You don't win arguments. You win outcomes, because real power isn't shown, it's felt. And you've become the kind of person who doesn't need to be seen to be feared. The kind of person who doesn't chase but attracts, doesn't react but projects, doesn't break but watches others crumble under the weight of your silence. You stopped playing their game and began creating your own. This is what happens when intelligence cools, when observation becomes foresight, when emotion is no longer your master but your tool. This isn't about being better. It's about being smarter than the system itself. Machiavelli said, "Men are driven by two main impulses, love or fear." But dark intelligence gives you a third way: control without either. They don't need to love you, they don't need to fear you, they only need to know. You are watching silently, carefully, permanently. If you've come this far, it's no accident. You're no longer a mere spectator, you're a survivor amid the noise. This journey through dark intelligence isn't just about what's out there, it's about what it's awakened inside you. A silent but profound transformation has begun. Your mind, sharper and keener now, sees the world anew, and that perception is your first step toward true power. To seal this moment of clarity and self-discovery, I invite you to an act of quiet resistance. Comment below, "I see the shadows and I do not fear." This isn't a call to the algorithm, it's a pact among minds daring to see beyond appearances, a recognition that you've chosen the path of relentless truth. Here there's no room for sugar-coated illusions or convenient lies. Here we seek a wisdom that frees, even if it disturbs. Come, explore more truths that challenge the common sense. Awaken your mind to the nuances most ignored. Find strength in what was once invisible. Remember, the greatest revolution happens in the silence of your own perception.